Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Steelers' new video podcast. You can see Kieran, you can see Aaron Fox, and we're going to be talking all things Steelers in the next 45 minutes. We're going to be putting Foxy through the mill, asking him all about the new Steelers team that we're so excited to see on Sunday, the 19th of September at the Sheffield Arena. What a night we have planned for you then. And then just a week later, we open for real, don't we, against the Cardiff Devils. We're raising banners, and what an opening night that will be. So, Kieran, Aaron, a very good evening to you. And Foxy, I guess question one must be how excited are you after 18 months off to have put this team together that we're all so excited about?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's an exciting time for all of us here. It's been a long time coming. What I'm really happy about is that 1920 group. I felt like we retained a lot of core pieces from that trophy-winning group, and then we've added some new pieces that I think are gonna do really well in this league. With Cardiff playing over the weekend and us sitting here kind of on our hands still waiting, I'm chomping at the bit to get going. But I think that's normal.
Do you still get excited when you sign a player, when you go chasing a player? Do you still get a buzz and a kick out of that, as you perhaps did the very first time you did it in Zagreb?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the fun part of the business. It's almost like you're playing poker or gambling a little bit with negotiations and contract talks and trying to get guys for the number that works for the club and the player trying to get what works for him. So there's always that cat and mouse game, if you will. But I think us as an organization here in the UK, we're able to offer a great situation, very professional, from top to bottom, and great venue, great fans. I think it's a really unique piece here in the UK for us that we can recruit to. So I think that helps a ton too.
When you see Ronaldo sign at Man United or Mbappe and going to Real Madrid, is it basically exactly the same for you, but you're just dealing with lesser numbers? Is it really just the same as what we see in football and in other sports, trying to balance a budget or trying to put pieces into a
Yeah,
jigsaw?
I think again, once you get that core group done, you're able to then know exactly what you're looking for, exactly what kind of pieces you feel like you need to be a championship winning team. I know the expectations are always high here in Sheffield, and that was part of the thing that drew me to this job. And fortunately enough, we've got a trophy under our belt in that 1920 year, and hopefully we're going to add on that this year.
You're going to see Kieran, of course, around the arena. He's doing so much of our social media with us and in these podcasts. So a new face, if you like, in front of the camera. Obviously not as good looking as mine and Aaron's, but we're bringing him into the game. I think that's fair, Foxy. I think that's fair. Kieran, far away.
From my point of view, I'm both that fan and been helping the Steelers out doing this, and as we have been getting, we get these names through that we're writing website stories up for. First thing you do, head to elite prospects, and just some of the names that Fox has been able to bring in. Experience is just so exciting, really. I think my question from a fan point of view for Foxy is, I guess it's where do you start, really? Take a normal season, not this sort of pandemic we've gone through, but you get to end of a season, you have them chats, exit interviews and so on. Where do you then start? Yeah. We've had questions through Twitter on, do you look for areas you want to improve on? Have you got a list of players that you've been going for a few years? Where do you start?
Yeah, the process starts a little bit differently here, I would say, in the UK than it does some other places, only because some guys aren't ready to sign in January, February, March from other leagues to come into the UK at that point in time. There's usually, it's usually a summer process for guys that, at least that for the types of guys I'm looking for, at least, you know what I mean? Like, I'm looking for guys that have good resumes, and like I said, winning is a priority here. So I'm going to try to be as patient as I can and see exactly what that market looks like. There's no doubt that from that 1920 years, I had some guys that we had announced to come back for that 2021 year that were core guys for us. Unfortunately, not all of them have come back from that 2021 year as well. But I still feel like, especially our forward group, there's a core group of guys there that are all high-end offensive guys that we know can play at this level and play at a high clip. And then for me, it was, again, just scouring the market, figuring out what worked in our price range, who would be available, what kind of timeline different guys are looking at, and then finally being able to pull the trigger and get some guys done. And like Simsy said, it is a jigsaw puzzle a little bit, and you're trying to put the best team together with the money you have that's been allotted to you, and you kind of go from there. But very, very happy with where we're at. This process was a little bit different because we had some guys done for 2021. There was no 2021 series. Some guys went and played elsewhere, and then we had to go back and work for the 21-22 season here that we're on. So, but love our group.
Shall we take it position by position? And let's start with what we perhaps think is going to be the biggest character on the team. I know, Aaron, when you first mentioned his name to me, you said, "Oh, you're going to love him. You're going to love him." Let's talk about goaltending to start off with. Was it a big decision with Duba, or was the year out? Was that something that you had to take into account, and then the decision to go for Barry Brust? Talk us through that whole process.
I think we made that Duba decision before the Elite Series. I think if we realistically were going to bring Dubes back, to compete for a 21-22 year, we would have needed to get him in 5 weeks in that Elite Series. You know what I mean? So I think that kind of was the decision we made then, that we were going to look for someone else. And we brought Muse in, who I like a ton. Unfortunately, got injured first game, and I don't think we ever really got to see exactly who he was. He was playing, probably 70% in those 2 games against Nottingham at the end of the year. And he actually had a contract on the table with an out clause until a certain date, and I just wasn't ready to do a deal at that point in time. Barry was a guy that I had looked into for the 1920 year. Unfortunately, it just didn't work financially for us. He had much better opportunities out there back in Slovan Bratislava, but he was very intrigued by the uni deal then. So once I knew we were going 21-22, I reached back out. We had some conversations. He seems motivated, super excited, looking forward to the school side of it, ready to play some hockey. And for me, he was option A. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that I'd talked to about for the Elite Series too, and he was just having a baby, so it didn't work out. But once I got him to get on board, that my decision was easy there. I feel like he's going to be a guy that is a game changer, big goaltender, has a unique attitude and style to him that I think the Steelers faithful will fall in love with immediately, and he's a winner. He'll help us win hockey games. So that's the most important part.
Yeah, I think via myself and Twitter, the experience came first. I think it's a name that's cropped up a few times over the last few years, and everybody's really excited to see him. I guess the questions that was age. I mean, he's an older goaltender, which the experience to me of a goaltender is actually a plus point. But for any fans that have got concerns about age, is there anything to say about that? And the other side of it before, well, I guess we're going to jump onto it, is what's the role going to be for Churchfield around Brust as well? Are they going to share starting duties, or? Yeah.
Well, that's a question that as a coach, you're never going to answer 2 weeks before training camp. That's for sure. We like to have a competitive culture all the way up and down our lineup, including at the goalie position. And I think Barry's age isn't an issue. I think he had a year off, which a lot of guys, if you look around leagues in Europe and in our league in general, there's a lot of guys who didn't play 2021 that are hopping into our league this year. And he's a veteran guy. I'm not overly. Dukes was older than he was and came in and won a trophy with us, so I'm not overly worried about his age at all. In saying that, injuries happen. That's just the reality of it. And if something happens, we'll address it if it does. Doughty's a younger guy. He got injured, missed a full season. So age really isn't a number. As long as he's coming in for the right reasons, there'll be no issues from our end there. Regarding Churchy, Churchy's worked hard over the summer here. He's going to come in and compete in practice, and obviously he'll get his chance. And hopefully when he plays well, and makes me want to think about getting him more games from that point of things. So, Barry's the guy, though, for sure. He's coming in as the guy who's going to play as many games as possible. And then having Churchy and Curtis back there competing in practice, and whichever one of those two is playing better, we'll get those complimentary starts.
Let's have a quick look at the D. You mentioned that team for the 2021 season, and that team most probably might have had Brocklehurst in it, certainly would have had Aaron Johnson in it. They're two big misses, aren't they, that you've had to fill? But in Danielson, Ellaby, Schulze, and Todd, you certainly have done that. How much of a issue was it? Because I know you rated Aaron Johnson very highly, and Johnny would have been back the year before. How awkward was that decision?
Yeah, I mean, that was also a conversation that I had with Johnny for the Elite Series. If Johnny would have wanted to come back and play in the Elite Series for the financial stipend that each team got, I would have brought him in for that. And then, we would have assessed the situation after that if he wanted to do another year. He's an older guy. Johnny's been there and done that, if you will. And I think because of the situation, this just made the most sense for him personally and professionally, and which I understood 100%. Big hole to fill, not only on the ice but off the ice. He was a key guy in our leadership group. Was one of the player assistants that I had who did some PK meeting stuff, and was just a really, really good guy to have around, and was a heck of a player for us too. His season was cut short to injury there, but when he came back motivated and played a hard physical game for us, which really helped us. But with the decor we got coming in, I feel like we're 6 deep, and then Evan Mosey as our swing guy makes us 7 deep. He's a guy that I feel like if you look back on that 1920 season, I felt like we lost a little bit when we lost Eric Milland. He was that guy in that swing guy role for us, and key contributor. I felt like it was really, really important for us, especially with the roster size going down to 19, to make sure we have a guy that can play a top 9 role for us up front, and also realistically he can be a top 4 defenseman in this league as well. So I think that's a huge asset for us to have. He's been in town now for the last week. He's been on the ice every day, comes as advertised, absolutely skates like the wind, beautiful skater. And I think once he, picks up our systems, I think he'll be a real asset for us.
Yeah, I'm really excited about two people actually. One import, one Brit. The import being Ellaby, just the amount of experience he's got, the size, and in terms of the way he skates. But I just want to throw out Sam Jones. When I was lucky enough to go and actually watch it live with the Elite Series doing the social media, out of the entire team, when I was looking at Sam Jones, I just thought was absolutely brilliant. I'm really, really excited to see how he's progressed and what he can bring to the team overall. What expectations you've got of Sam Jones, really, because, like I said, I've made a big impression on me.
Yeah, I think Sam came in, and what I loved about Sam's game was he didn't try to overdo it. I think at his age, coming in to fill a role, he bought in immediately to what we try to do as a team. And then he also has zero issue sticking up for his teammates, which I loved. Like every time there was something that happened when he was on the ice, he was the first guy in there to stick up for his teammates, which goes a long way in our group, and I know it goes a long way to the fans as well when they see that kind of stuff, which is huge. Sam's going to have a big year. He's going to have a big role. I think, again, with the roster size of 19 and the 6D, there's going to be some guys that are going to play some heavy minutes throughout the year. Maybe to start the year, Sam starts as a penalty killer and plays 15 to 18 minutes as a 4, 5, 6 guy. But there's going to be nights where we're thin and we're short man, and he's going to end up playing 25, 30 minutes a night and being in all situations. And I have no issue with that. I played him on the power play a little bit in the Elite Series, got a goal out of it, and did a good job. So I think he's just one of those guys that's only going to get better. Kind of funny story too. I got a message from Keaton Ellerby about 3 weeks ago saying that he didn't know it, but him and Sam Jones's grandparents are really tight, and he didn't know that ahead of time. So he was going to reach out to Sam in the last couple of weeks and just say hi. So hockey world is very small that way, which is crazy, but I thought that was kind of funny.
Aaron, how important was the Elite Series with Schulze and Danielson actually getting a preview, if you like?
Yeah, I think it was great. I really don't think we get either one of those guys this year if they're not in for the Elite Series. That's, you know what I mean? I think the way we ran things for that 5 weeks, what they saw out of the organization, how professional it was, I think that was a big reason why both of them decided to come back. They're a bit completely different players. Saxy's that 6'2", 6'3" defenseman that skates extremely well for his size, not afraid to mix it up, chip in offensively, but is more of a defensive defenseman if you really want to critique him, which I love. But again, he'll jump into the play when needed. Awesome guy, defending a lead. So I think he'll be a key asset for us. And then Kevin was a guy who, again, came out of the DL ran some pretty good numbers in that league, and he's just a smooth skating defenseman. I love the pace he plays with. He can play a little bit more aggressive than other guys can because, of that speed where he can track back and he can lead the rush and be the first guy back, which is awesome too. So
KHL, SHL, DEL, that Dane Todd hasn't got the worst resume in the world either, has he?
No, I think he'll be, he'll be a guy that it might take 10 days to 2 weeks to get him going because he hasn't played in quite a while, similar to like Army. But I think once he's got his hockey legs back, I think he'll be a really explosive player in our league. He's when I watch tape back from him from the 1920 year, he's a guy that he really comes to you on tape just because of his skating is so good, reads the play so well, great first pass, and then again he's very, very good positionally defenseman. He kind of reminds me of a right-handed Aaron Brocklehurst a little bit. Maybe skates a little better than Aaron, but should be a really, really good asset for us.
Karen.
Yeah, I mean, two things. One, first one is Schulze. I mean, he certainly didn't come across on the streams. I can't remember many players being as quick as he is around the ice. So a lot of fans should be excited about seeing how quick he is. The other thing I'd add to the decor, which I'm excited about as well, is that bit of extra toughness as well. I think it's the days have gone of the out enforcer, but when you look down that D of Ellerby, Jones, Davy Phillips, which never gets the applaud it should get, and Danielson, you've got some real toughness back there. And is that something that you were looking to add to, or is it just come as part of the package?
Yeah, I think with those 4 guys, with Saxy and Keaton, Sam and Davey, those guys are all 6'2" to 6'5", aren't afraid to play a physical game, aren't afraid to stick up for their teammates. So I think that's good to have back there. I'm kind of a little bit new age that way, where I don't think teams need an enforcer nowadays. But it is good to have guys that are willing if needed, and I think we have that. You
alluded in the intro that you brought a core of your forwards back, your likes of your Connollys, your Valorans, your DeLucas. You've obviously got Jono and Dowdy as well. How important was that? And also just touch on the John Armstrong thing, with him not playing for a year. And when we spoke to John at the beginning, he was in two minds, but then all of a sudden he just desperately wanted to play. So the core, did that kind of almost sign itself?
Well, there's always a little bit of work to be done there. You know what I mean? Especially in a COVID year where, salary restrictions are in place, and you just don't have the same to deal with as we had in that 1920 year, and that's just the reality of it. But I think it's that way all throughout Europe, and it's not just a UK thing. You got to be smart in this day and age right now, and make sure that teams don't put themselves in a position where they're not the types of teams that they want to be down the line. So I think there are some harder conversations to have for sure, because guys needed to be chipped, and that was just a reality of it. But I think they all wanted to be here, and I think they're all here for the right reasons. And I think that core group got done the way we wanted it to and we needed it to.
Is that tough when you're not only their coach, because over in the UK you got to be their mate as well? I mean, you're not their best mate, you don't go drinking with them, but you have a relationship with these guys, and then all of a sudden you've got to say, hey, that pound isn't a pound anymore, it's only this pound. Is that an awkward conversation? Is that something with experience you just become a little bit more comfortable doing in time?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's more difficult than others. Some conversations are harder, some conversations are easier, and some conversations, that's why players have agents at times, is because sometimes it's a lot easier for me to have hard conversations with the agents. The agents have the conversation with the player, and then they're kind of the mediator between the two at times. Sometimes it's hard though if you're negotiating just with a player and you really like that player, but you still need to bring his weaknesses to the table to work the pound down a little bit. But like I said, I try to be as honest and as professional as I can. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, you'll ruin a relationship and it doesn't work out. That's just, you know what I mean? That's just kind of the way it is sometimes in this business. But like I said, I feel like we got, the majority of our core back that we really would have liked to. There's obviously John Armstrong. He had just taken he was planning on coming back in January when we thought the Elite Series was going to go off in January. It didn't happen. He took a new job, just because it's a long time without a wage for a lot of guys during that COVID year, which was really, really hard. So when I called him about the Elite Series, I would have brought him back for the Elite Series. But again, the financial stipend that we had just didn't work for him for a 5-week job and then have to go back and not know what was going to happen in the summer. So he started work after the Elite Series was over. And we knew we were going to go. We knew I knew what the budget was going to be. I reached back out to him and asked, how he's doing, where's his head at, and he was like, "Man, I miss hockey. The real world isn't all it's cracked up to be." You know what I mean? He's like, "I'll tell you what, if we can find a way to get me back, I'll come back happier, more motivated than I've ever been." So we got that deal done again, pretty easy. We found a way forward on some of the stuff that is normal in those types of conversations, and he's super excited to come back. And a funny story about Army there was, he's been doing 2-a-days. Carter was in Calgary where he had him in the gym working out. And when he sent that video, I asked him to send a video on Danny when we announced all those videos, and he sends the video and he says the camera adds 10 pounds. And I just I got a real kick out of that one. But he's ready to go and he's going to come back absolutely dialed in. I'm sure of it.
Looking down at the experience, we've got just over 2,500 games for the Sheffield Steelers. I mean, how much easier does that make your job when it does come to sort of induction day, that first couple of weeks, to sort of installing the Steelers ethics, the putting across how much winning is to this club, and again, is it still a bit of a difference to some people coming in that the league is the big one for us, not the playoffs? Does that still take a bit of getting used to for some players?
Yeah, I think so. I think us having that core together, and there were some guys in the Elite Series that already know some of the system stuff as well. That maybe weren't part of that 1920 core, but are part of our core now. So, I think we're short training camp this year. Like it's literally a week training camp, which is extremely short. So I think that's going to be a benefit to us to have the group of guys that we do have coming back that know the systems already. You know, it's a lot of information to get through in a week or 10 days time, but I don't need to be the only voice in that now, because if there's an issue with the system, you know, I can walk out of that locker room and know that if there's a communication issue, they can walk over to John, or they can walk over to Dowdy, they can walk over to Army or Ebbs or Cons Valley and, you know, say, hey, what are we doing in this situation? And it's they know what like the back of their hand already. So I think that's a huge benefit for us. I think it also gives us some huge flexibility. You know, there's some guys that already have some built-in chemistry that I can go to. There's some guys that I can mix up and try some new combinations with. So I think it's a great asset for us to have with that group coming back. And you know, I did a 1920 start of the season lineup. I did my Challenge Cup final lineup, and now I've done my 21-22 lineup, just putting them side by side to each other. And you know, I think, you know, I like the way our group looks a lot on this 21-22 on paper right now. You know, and for me, like, we didn't have Robert Dowd, you know, from December that 1920 year, and you can't replace a Brit like that. So I think him coming back is almost, you know, it's like that extra. It's almost like a 15th import in my head right now, because you know, he's that good of Brit forward in this league, and he's been on the last 5 days. He looks dialed right now. He's in great shape, sniping. So it's going to be great to have Dowdy back for a full year too.
Let's rattle through some of the other forwards just before we go. The first guy you signed was Martin Lattle, and sometimes when I'm planning ghost rosters in my head, I kind of forget him because he was signed so early. But coming to the UK for the first time, and another guy who skates well, that seems to be a trait of this team. It's going to skate well.
Yeah, I mean, his skating is, I mean, he might be our fastest player, and we have some speed up and down our wings. Like, if you watch his tape, he's explosive, like crazy straight line speed. And you know, has never ran huge numbers in the Czech Extra League, but that league is a premium league, and I feel like he's going to come in and cause some real havoc with that speed. I feel like he'll chip in offensively, and like I've done about 25 ghost rosters here, and you know, some of them I'm trying to make 3 lines that are all the same. Some of them I'm trying to load up. So and for me, it's like, when I load up, that leaves me with some pretty good players on in my bottom 6. So I like I said, that versatility I think is going to be huge for us, and I'm really excited for Martin to come in. Speaks English really well, and I mean, I don't think we've went wrong with the Czech situation so far.
No, not at all. Just the other two. We've just got just under 10 minutes left here. Alexuk and Hodgman. Hodgman reminded me of a bit of a throwback when I spoke to him and you gave me his number. Seemed a character who enjoyed life, shall we say?
Yeah, Haji's going to be a good player for us. 6'3", skates well for his size. Great face-off guy. Played in all the top leagues. You know, again, I think he's going to be a really high-end guy in this league for us. And same as you, and I've had conversations with him. I've enjoyed them. I think he should be a good character to have around our group.
Yeah, and Alexuk?
Yeah, Travis is a winner. You know, I think that's the reality of Travis. When I watched his game, he's just one of those guys who does absolutely everything right. Not a cheater. Plays a defensive first game, but then also when he's in the O zone, he'll make plays. Great in small areas. Can be a net front or a goal line PP guy. You know, good on faceoffs. Can play both forward positions, center or wing. So some great versatility there, and he's just one of those glue guys that, you know, teams that win need.
Yeah, well, picking up on 2 centres there, then I guess another centre in Connolly. We've got sort of 4 or people that can play centre to top two lines. Do you sort of see Connolly going back onto the wing now, or do you just like that flexibility of having four guys that can easily play centre?
Yeah, I mean, I think those four guys will all be in our top nine, that's for sure. So someone's going to move to the wing there. Like we talked about earlier, if I can start the year with Cons, Deluxe, and Valley. I can start the year with Cons, Dowdy, and Valley. They had some success together as well. Or I can move Cons to the wing and slot a Alexic in there with Cons and Valley, or a Haji with those two guys. So there's some real good options to have. I don't know exactly what our lineup's going to look like come the 18th, 17th, 18th, 19th. But I do think those options are great to have.
How important are those two Nottingham games? Because normally we have a slightly larger training camp, and we would have more than two exhibition games before we get into the season. But with the pandemic and everything else, just that weekend, how important is that weekend to you?
Well, I think it's important for us to get into hockey game shape and battle mode, because you can mimic that in practice a little bit, but you don't want to bury your own teammates either. Like, health is going to be an important thing for us this year, and for me, it's just going to be more about starting to build the character of our group, the identity that weekend. And it's not, for me, that weekend's not going to be about winning or losing. I know you guys don't want to hear that right now, and especially people listening probably don't want to hear that right now. But for us, it's about the process, getting guys going and making sure that we're just starting to build that identity for our group.
On the two-way guys, I think right from Kurt Bracknell, we've now got Cole Chudrin. Brendan Whittle sort of seemed to come out of the blue. Your thought process were on Brandon and what you expect from him when he's available, really?
Yeah, I mean, I think Brandon's a guy who has put the work in and is looking forward to a second chance, and I think that's great. He's motivated to help us if possible when he's available to. And Cole's been on the ice the last 4 days with us, and it looks like he's in great shape, has looked really, really good. So again, when you have a roster size of 19, you're going to need some flexibility there. And with those two guys, I think it's great for us to have. Cole, I think, predominantly would prefer to be a forward moving forward here this year. And, with Mosey, if we lose a D, I can move Mosey back and then have one of Cole or Brandon with us, whoever's looked good, played well, and I'm sure they're both going to get games, plenty of them.
Just to conclude then, as we wrap this first episode up then, Aaron, what would your message be going into the start of this year? Because I'm kind of lucky. I have another job to take my mind off it. So does Kieran, so does Dave. But you're a hockey man, and you've gone like 15 months, 16 months without it, other than this little elite series. What's your message as you get back into work mode, if you like, full time, with the season, just over 2 weeks away?
Well, I mean, I think the message is always going to be the same from me. Is I came here to win. Winning is a priority. And that's my main focus and goal. I think anytime, we've been around David or we've done the coaches' dinners, I think that's the one thing that I'm here for is I like to compete. I don't like to lose at anything. And that's, I put my heart and soul into building the roster that we did over the last summer here, and put a team together that I feel can win trophies, and that's my message is, that's the goal. We'll do everything in our power to make that happen.
Great. Aaron, thanks for your time tonight. Kieran, thank you. You'll be seeing this in its entirety, subject to Dave doing all of his editing. And then, of course, we're back. 18th in Nottingham, 19th at home is game one. And then we raise the banner on the 26th against the Cardiff Devils. So, from Aaron Fox, from Kieran, and from myself, Dave Sims, have a good night. Make sure you buy your tickets. The 19th, 4 o'clock. It's going to be some night.